Alright, welcome back to another episode of Chip Theory. I'm going to be discussing one of the modes today, the Phrygian mode. In this case, the E Phrygian mode. I don't know if you can see, but if you look at this layout of poker chips, you might see a pattern. You'll see 3 blue chips right here and 2 blue chips right here. These would represent the black keys on your piano keyboard. If we go here all the way to the left, this is where the note E would be represented in relation to the black keys. It's not the note right next to the group of 3, but the note before that. So it goes E, F. You have F sharp or G flat here. We move it all the way to the right. The note E comes right after the group of 2 black keys. So we have D sharp or E flat, and then E comes right after that. And that is where our keynotes of E Phrygian will be located on the piano keyboard. Again, if we want to find C, the note C is going to be here. And you can simply see that if you count up 4 half steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, you can reach E from C and from 4 steps in this direction. Or, since we're on the octave and there's 12 half steps total, if you count down 8, you can also reach C in 8 half steps in this direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So again, it's from C to E is 4 going up and 8 to the left. C major being the key that the E Phrygian mode is relative to. But I want you to think of E Phrygian as a pattern all of its own. Again, the pattern for the Ionian mode is a whole step, a half step, a whole step, a whole step, a whole step, and a half step. And for our Phrygian mode, the third mode of the major scale, we're starting on the first, second, third note of that scale, and our pattern is going to be the major scale backwards. So if we can say our major scale descending as far as the pattern goes, we know our Phrygian mode, because they're simply inverse. So we say the Phrygian mode as the major scale backwards, as a half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step. Again, the major scale is whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. And the Phrygian mode is that simply in reverse. Half, whole, 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 half, whole, whole. So here we are with our E note being the key of our E Phrygian scale. We're going to form our E Phrygian scale using that pattern. Simply the major scale backwards. Half, whole, 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 half, whole. And you can see we need one more whole step, and the last whole step is to the octave E at the top. Whole. If we say the E Phrygian scale coming down, it's going to sound a lot like our major scale pattern, which I want to emphasize. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 and then a half step back to our E. Again, you can see where these lie in relation to the black keys. It's going to be all white notes on the piano keyboard, or relative to the C major key, which the mode is derived from. Realizing that, we can take away all these other notes, leaving us simply an E, a half step to F, whole step to G, whole step to A, whole step to B, half step to C, whole step to D, and then a whole step back to E. Even the notes of our E Phrygian scale can also be thought of as the E major scale with a flatted second, third, sixth, and seventh. So here we have an E major scale, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp. We've simply taken our F sharp, our 2-note, and flatted it from F sharp to F natural, the 3-note from G sharp to G, the 6th note, the C sharp to C, and our 7, D sharp to D natural. Given that, we know that in terms of scale degrees of our C major scale, of our relative major, the first position of our E Phrygian is going to be the 3rd note of the C major scale. This is note number 3 of C major. Again, this would be 4, 5, 6, 7, or root note, this would be C. Again, the relative major scale note is on the 6th node of Phrygian, always. And that will hold true for whatever note you start with in a Phrygian mode. The relative major is always on the 6th from your 3rd mode. Again, your 7th mode of Phrygian would be the 2nd degree of your major scale. So again, it revolves around root, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7 of the Phrygian mode. That's important to remember because those numbers are going to come into play when we start forming chords. For instance, when we form a triad here, E, G, and B, the triad is from the numbers of the C major scale, number 3, number 5, and number 7. Although this is the root, the 3rd, and the 5th of an E minor triad. Important to remember scale degrees as well. So here's E minor. There's going to be our 2nd triad of E Phrygian, or F major, F, A, and C. Again, this is your 4, 6, and root of C major, FAC. The 3rd are these notes, G, B, and D, which is going to be your flat 3 major, flat 3 dominant 7 chord. It's not 7 yet, but it's a major triad formed from the notes 5, 7, and 2 of C major. So G, B, and D. Our 4th chord here is F, A. I'm sorry. A, C, and E. It's the 4th chord. It's going to be minor, A minor, A, C, and E. Again, this is A minor, the 6th, the root, and the 3rd of C major. The 5 chord is here. B, D, and F. B, D, and F. B, D, F is going to be minor or diminished. This is diminished, excuse me. B, D, F is diminished. Formed from the 7, the 2, and the 4 of your relative major. B, D, and F. Again, your sixth chord was your relative major. C, E, and G is going to actually be a flat, called a flat 6 major, because in your E major scale, 6 is flatted, so we call that a flat 6 on the flatted notes that have been lowered from the E major scale. But it's a major triad built on the root, the third, and the fifth of the C major scale. So C, E, and G. Our seventh chord is going to be minor D, F, A. D, F, A is a minor triad formed from the second note, the fourth note, and the sixth note of the C major scale. Okay, realizing this, we know the triads of our E Phrygian mode. Starting here, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, and E. We know our pattern was a half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step. Coming down was whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, or the major scale in reverse. Now we can form our 7 chords built on each degree of the E Phrygian mode. Now, remembering that our E note is the 3rd degree, or the 3 of this relative major here, C. But we're building a chord starting on E, E, G, B, and D. And these are all white keys on the piano keyboard. This would be the relative 3rd minor chord of our relative major. Here it's in our 1 note, or our first position, or on our key note E. This is going to be our tonal center, an E minor 7, formed from the notes 3, 5, 7, and 2 of our relative major key. Again, these numbers 3, 5, 7, 2 will hold true no matter what key note you start on. Those are always going to be the degrees of the relative major scale that your chord is built from. It's always going to have the same intervallic relationship and the same spacing. It's always going to be a 3, 4, 3 interval for a minor 7. And it's always going to be the 1 plus 2, a 2 plus 2, or a minor second plus a major second, 2 major seconds, and a minor second plus a major second interval, forming a 3, 4, 3. That's going to hold true on any Phrygian scale. Your 3 chord or your 1 chord is going to have a 1 plus 2, 2 plus 2, and a 1 plus 2. So if you understand the structure of those numbers, and we know it's a 3, 5, 7, 2 scale degrees from our relative major. That's the minor 7 chord we're talking about. In this case, it's an E minor 7 from the E Phrygian mode. Our second degree is going to be a major, or flat 2, from E to F, or half step, F, A, C, and E. Although they may all look the same from being white keys on the keyboard, they have different qualities. So this is a major 7 chord. This was a minor 7, so they're going to sound different when played. They're also going to function differently based on your chord progression and the key, or however you voice these chords. this is a flat 2 major 7 F A C E, born from the 4th note, 6th, the root, and the 3rd of our relative C major. So those are going to be the degrees of the C major scale. 4, 6, root, 3rd. F, A, C is your root, and E on the 2nd degree of E Phrygian. A 4, 3, 4 spacing. Again, it's always going to have a 2 plus 1 for its minor third to get from A to C. You simply play A to B is 2 half steps and B to C is 1, giving you a 2 plus 1 A to C distance or spacing. 3, 4, 3, 4, major 7. Your 3rd degree is a flat 3. It's going to be, this was E, F, and G. So we're going to have a G7 chord. G, B, D, and F. G7 has a 4, 3, 3 spacing, giving that to have a G major 7. You need an F sharp here, but since in a relative major there is no F sharp, we have this note, this note, this note, and this note. We have the F natural here, which was our 4th degree of the relative major, C major, which flattens the 7th of this chord, giving you a minor third between your D and your F. Here we have G, B, D, F, 5, 7, 2, 4 of our scale degrees of relative major. 5, 7, 2, 4, dominant 7. Right? G, B, D, F. The 4th degree is going to be minor 7, A, C, E, and G. Again, this is going to be a 6, root, 3rd, 5th of your relative major scale. Always. 6, root, 3rd, 5th. For your 4, minor 7. It's a 3, 4, 3 spacing, minor 7. In this case, A, C, E, and G. Again, 6, root, 3rd, 5th. Alright, our 5th degree is E, F, G, A, B, B, D, F, and A. B, D, F, A is going to be a half diminished 7 chord, given that it has a 3, 3, 4 spacing, built from the 7th, 2nd, 4th, and 7. I'm sorry, 6. 7, 2, 4, 6 degree of your relative major scale, the C major scale. 7, 2, 4, 6, B, D, F, and A, or half diminished 7. The flat 6 was your relative major key. It's going to be the note built on the relative major C. It's a major 7, E, G, and B. C, E, G, and B is a 4, 3, 4 spacing, a major 7, built from the root, the 3rd, the 5th, and the 7th of your C major scale. Again, it falls on the 6th degree, the flat 6 of E Phrygian. Our 7th degree is going to be D, F, A, and C. It's a minor 7, 3, 4, 3 starting on the second degree, fourth, sixth, and root of our relative major scale. Second, fourth, sixth, root, or B, D, F. Let's see. D, F, A, C. Sorry, D, F, A, C, D minor 7. Flat 7, D minor 7. Again, our chords are an E minor 7, a flat 2, F major 7, a flat 3, G dominant, a 4, A minor 7, a 5, B half diminished, a flat 6, C major 7, and a flat 7, D minor 7. Another interesting fact about Phrygian is that if we were to play across this row right here, all the thirds of the Phrygian scale, it would be a Mixolydian pattern. So here you have the fifth note of C major, and it goes from 5, 6, 7. Here's the root of C. You have the second of C, third of C, and the fourth of C. So your notes are going to be G, A, B, C, D, E, F, which is a Mixolydian pattern, or whole, whole, half, whole, half, whole. Whole, half, whole, half, and then whole to the octave on the thirds of these chords. If you play across here all the fifths of the chords, you're going to have a Locrian pattern. Half, whole, half, whole. And across the sevenths, you have a Dorian pattern. Whole, half, whole, half, whole. With your scale degrees starting, so you'd have here, you'd have an E Phrygian mode across the bottom. On the fifth, or on the third of the chord, you'd have a G Mixolydian scale across here. Here you'd have a B Locrian across the fifths. And across this row, you'd have a D Dorian scale. That will hold true for any scale you start in Phrygian mode. And it's going to be the Phrygian, the Mixolydian, the Locrian, and the Dorian on these root position chords on all the degrees of those chords. Again, the first row is going to be all the roots of the chords. The second row is the thirds. These would be the fifths, and these are the sevenths. So I don't know if you can see the patterns there, but there are patterns across all of these because they're just a sequence. They revolve around. Again, let's talk about the inversions of these chords. Here we have E, G, B, and D. If we invert this pattern, now this particular minor 7, I said before, had a 1+2 spacing for its threes. So something to keep in mind. If we invert it, we have our minor 7 pattern for first inversion was 4-3-2, starting on the G, B, D, and E, to a 3-2-3 inversion, starting on B, D, E, and G, to the 2-3-4 position for minor 7s, D, E, G, and B. Coming down is B, G, E, and D, G, E, D, B, E, D, B, G, and D, B, G, E, or E minor 7 from E Phrygian. Our flat 2 major 7 was an F major 7, 4, 3, 4. We move our root up. We have a 3, 4, 1, F major 7, A, C, E, F. To our second inversion, 4, 1, 4, starting on C, C, E, F, A. To a 1, 4, 3, starting on E, E, F, A, C. Coming down is C, A, F, E, A, F, E, C, F, E, C, A, and E, C, A, F. All right, our flat 3 dominant 7 at a 4, 3, 3 spacing, starting on G, which is G, B, D, F. We move our G up to the top. We have a 3, 3, 2 inversion, starting on B, B, D, F, and G, followed by a 3, 2, 4 inversion for dominant 7s. This is a dominant 7, and 3, 2, 4, starting on the note D. So what's 3 from D is F, 2 from F is G, and 4 from G is B. Our third inversion is going to be a 2, 4, 3, starting on F, F, G, B, and D. Coming down is D, B, G, F, B, G, F, D, G, F, D, B, and F, D, B, and G for our third position of E Phrygian. Our fourth chord was minor 7, 3, 4, 3, A, C, E, G, to a 4, 3, 2, starting on C, C, E, G, A, to our 3, 2, 3, starting on E, E, G, A, C, to a 2, 3, 4, starting on G, G, A, C, E. Coming down is E, C, A, G, C, A, G, E, A, G, E, C, and G, E, C, A. Our fifth chord was half diminished. In this case, it's B half diminished, B, D, F, A. Again, half diminished is 3, 3, 4. We move our B up. We have a 3, 4, 2, starting on D, D, F, A, B, to a 4, 2, 3, starting on F, F, A, B, D, to a 2, 3, 3, starting on F. No, starting on A, B, D, F. Coming down is F, D, B, A, D, B, A, F, B, A, F, D, and A, F, D, B. I don't know if I said that correctly, but it's a B minor 7, B half diminished. 7, 2, 4, 6, B half diminished. All right, a flat 6, major 7, C, E, G, and B is 4, 3, 4. To our 3, 4, 1, starting on E, E, G, B, C. To a 4, 1, 4, starting on G, G, B, C, E. To a 1, 4, 3, starting on B, B, C, E, G. Coming down is G, E, C, B, E, C, B, G, C, B, G, E, and B, G, E, C. And our 7th chord was a flat 7, minor 7, starting on D, D, F, A, C, 3, 4, 3, to a 4, 3, 2, F, A, C, D, to a 3, 2, 3, starting on A, C, D, F, to a 2, 3, 4 inversion, starting on C, C, D, F, A. Moving down is A, F, D, C, F, D, C, A, D, C, A, F, and C, A, F, D. And those are your chords and scales of E Phrygian. Again, E is here, your root note, your key note of E Phrygian. Your relative major is on the 6th, C major.